So tonight we also are here for a celebration. We are celebrating someone really special that most of you have seen probably in the conference book, which is our dear friend Karen Cichowski. Karen, I've seen what people have been writing about you. I just have highlighted a couple of things. You were a leader in the NF field. You were the first one who developed an NF animal model. I think that this deserves an applause. People write about you that you have changed the NF field, and I agree with that. You not only you've truly focused on what the patients need, bringing excellent treatments to the clinic, but never forget the science in this journey. So tonight we have a couple of things. First of all, we have a little surprise for you. Simon, can you switch on the video? An old friend has a little message for you.
Hi, I'm Tyler Jacks. I'm from the Koch Institute for Integrative Cancer Research at MIT, and once upon a time, Karen Cichowski was a postdoctoral fellow in my lab. And now look at her. She's the recipient of the 2017 von Recklinghausen Award from the Children's Tumor Foundation. I just want to say that I'm extremely proud of Karen. It's a very well-deserved honor. I only wish that I could be there with her in person to celebrate her in the moment. Starting now more than 20 years ago, Karen has brought a combination of biochemistry, cell biology, whole animal experimentation to her efforts to understand neurofibromatosis type 1. And through that collective effort, she's made tremendous progress, not only in understanding how the disease arises and the function of the responsible gene that controls the disease, but also translating that into new ways of treating the disease, which will soon, I think, have impact for patients with NF1. So great work, Karen. I couldn't be more proud of you. I do want to say a few other things, however. Firstly, that Friedrich von Recklinghausen was trained by Rudolf Virchow, who is the famed pathologist and cell biologist. And legend has it that whenever von Recklinghausen received honors or other forms of recognition for his work, he went out of the way to emphasize the important mentorship that he had received from Virchow. So I'll just let that sink in for a moment. The other thing I wanted to say is that for those of you who are looking at the program and maybe hadn't heard the pronunciation of Karen's last name before, the proper pronunciation is Cichowski. If you look at the name and the way it's spelled, you might think that it's Cichowski, but that's actually not correct. So I want to raise a glass. I don't have a glass, but if I did, I would raise a glass to toast my friend Karen Cichowski for the great work that she's done in NF1 and for her receipt of the 2017 von Recklinghausen Award. Congratulations, Karen. Hi.
Yeah, exactly. So we are known as the Belgians in Karen's lab. And I should say, so we're, for those who don't know us, I'm Thomas, this is Ophelia. And I should say we are the lucky Belgians because we're probably the only two people in this room that are the mentees of two von Recklinghausen awardees. Eric Legis was our mentor in Belgium, and now Karen Cichowski tonight. And of course, tonight it's all about her. And
Karen, congratulations. This award is truly a recognition of your long-standing record in excellence in NF1 research. Your drive and passion for cancer research are truly remarkable.
Can you have the next slide?
You're determined, unstoppable, persistent, contagious, passionate, and driven.
But you're not only these things in your scientific life, but you're like this in life in general. And so you take this passion and like, oh, I remember one of the first things when I came to lab, you said like, when I started my lab, one of the dreams that I had was like walking out of my office at 3 p.m., yelling to the lab, like, everybody drop everything, we're going for drinks. But as, yeah, but like, because you're passionate, you're tending to take this to the extreme. Can we have?
And while we won't share too many details, there was one night at the Golden Temple, where we have our lab holiday party, where Karen suspiciously lost her belt. And we expect it happened around this time.
But as evidenced by, can we have the next slide? By these pictures, the atmosphere in the lab is just amazing. And this is because Karen is so passionate about everything. And it's just a joy to work for Karen, both scientifically and as like an emotional and group together.
So Karen, your unique combination of professional and personal skills makes you an excellent scientist, a fun boss, and a great role model. Again, congratulations, well deserved.
Thank you.
Like the Oscar winner. Go like this. Oh, wow.
Well, that was quite a surprise. I brought paper because it's after dinner, after cocktail hour, and I needed a safety net. I am truly honored and humbled to receive this award today. And I want to start by saying that while I'm the one who's up here today, this really has been a team sport. So when Annette told me the news, I was immediately overcome with gratitude. Not as much for the award, but for the people that have really made my life so scientifically rich, many of whom are here today. And I distinctly remember many of the inflection points in my career and the people that were involved in those precious moments, and those are some of the people that I'd like to thank tonight. So when I started my postdoc in 1996, and I have to tell you, I have to go off script a little bit because Tyler really wanted me to brag about him. I was interested in NF1 and RAS. This was in 1996, and his words were, "We're done with RAS." So I thought, okay, I'm going to put my efforts towards NF1. But I also thought, this might be a little bit too hard. And the reason was, we did have a mouse. Tyler made the original mouse at that time, but it didn't get tumors. And we had a gene, but it was completely unclonable, and we had nothing else. And so I said to myself, I'll give this a year. But that's when the CTF stepped in and gave me a fellowship and really drew me into this community, beginning at the Hotel Jerome, many late evenings, which is really where all of the science took place at that time. And I knew it actually at the first conference that I was hooked, which was prior to the Hotel Jerome. It was a very memorable conference because that was the year that we had the 3-hour barge ride with copious amounts of beer and no bathrooms on the barge. But despite that, I decided to stay in the field and start working on NF1. Now, when I started my own lab in 2001, one of the first grants I received was from the Department of Defense. And again, I really want to thank the wisdom of the CTF and the board members for lobbying Congress to fund NF research, which really helped draw and keep someone like me in the field. The importance of this, of course, in today's funding climate cannot be understated. And of course, I thank NABA and all his colleagues at the DoD for working so hard on all of our behalfs. But this lab really belongs to the people in my laboratory. I planned this before they surprised me, but I still think it's actually true. Really, their positive energy and tireless work, sometimes even resulting in daily mouse injections that last, I think the record is 117 days, just leaves me awestruck. And in particular, I'd really like to thank Thomas and Ophelia, who have been the cornerstone of my laboratory for many years, as many of you know. They came to my lab already with a passion for NF research from Eric and Ludwig, where they trained as graduate students. And it was this conference that brought all of us together. And so I'd really like to thank Ludwig and Eric, as well as Thomas and Ophelia, for their hard work, dedication, and passion. And I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for you. We need to do this. I'd also like to thank my preclinical consortium members, Wade, who's here today, as well as Kevin Shannon and Nancy Ratner. We've come a long way since 2008, and it's really been a pleasure to be in the therapeutic trenches with you. And to Brigitte and Arang, who are two of the most generous, thoughtful collaborators that I've ever had a pleasure of working with, and who really served as the bridge to bring us to the clinic. And I think it's these types of collaborations, as we were hearing earlier, bringing people that normally don't work together to work together, that is what is going to make progress. And finally, to John, Annette, and Jayshree for supporting the preclinical consortium along the way, and for Annette for bringing this to another level with her vision, much of which you'll hear more about in the future. Now, I'm probably a little bit older than you may think, and I had thought, when I was 20 and I was this old and geezing, that I might feel a bit more worse for the wear, maybe be perhaps a little less hungry in my career. But I find that the opposite is true. As a field, I think that we're so close to not only understanding these three disorders, but really developing effective treatments. And frankly, I've become quite obsessed with doing my part to make this happen. When I look back 5 years ago, I almost don't recognize the field. And I predict that the next 5 years will bring even more great progress. So as Greg said, let's hustle, hustle, hustle. And finally, I want to say thank you to the families affected by NF1, NF2, and schwannomatosis. Thank you for driving this grassroots efforts from the beginning, for serving on the board, for lobbying Congress, for organizing and contributing to fundraisers, and for many, many times sharing your life stories with us and becoming our friends. You are the reason why we are all here. And for that, I'm eternally grateful. Thank you.